tens of thousands of Syrians took to the streets of the capital Damascus and swore allegiances to Bashar al-Assad. Similar scenes played out in Syria's second largest city, Aleppo, in Latakia, and in the town of Daraa, where the unrest began. But the pro-government wave was not unanimous. In Homs, several people were killed in battles between pro- and anti-government protesters. And in other places, anti-government forces took to the streets as soon as the pro-government demos ended. Opposition leaders dismissed the huge pro-government protests. They say most of these marchers were government employees who had no choice but to take part.
Foreign journalists are not allowed in Syria. That's why we are covering the story from Beirut. So it's hard to verify how much support does President Assad really has now. What is clear is that so far there have been no major protests, anti-government protests, in Syria's two largest cities, Damascus and Aleppo. Both have stayed relatively quiet, and about a quarter of Syria's population lives in those two cities.
And yes, some of them are just too afraid to take to the streets. But people in other parts of Syria overcame that same fear of suppression and dared to protest. In some towns and even villages, anti-government protesters numbered in the tens of thousands. In others, it was only a few hundred or even just a few dozen. The protests are widespread, but have not swept all of Syria yet, and the government is still in firm control of the country, and it's keen to show just how much in control. On Monday, the government organized a tour for more than 70 Western and Arab diplomats to Syria's hotspots in the northern province of Idlib. U.S. Ambassador Robert Ford was amongst those who visited the town of Jazeera, where some of the most heated battles took place. On the day of the tour, the government unearthed a mass grave it said contained the bodies of security service members killed by armed gangs in the province. The government is trying hard to sell its version of events, that it's fighting an armed revolt by what it refers to as extremist Islamists, not a revolution for freedom. The protesters on the streets are just as keen to make their voices heard over this narrative. Rula Amin, Al Jazeera, Beirut.